also, I love to share people's stories on my podcast. The whole thing about purpose is not just what you're doing right now, but it's about what you've been through and what you're going through. So let me bring on Alex Onaindia. Let's go, Alex. What up?
How's it going, Alan? Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being on here, brother. I really do appreciate you. And I know it's been a little long time coming, for us to actually have this interview. So, I really appreciate you hanging on and just staying in there. I had to hit you up like, hey man, I'm ready. Now is the time. I'm really ready. So I really do appreciate you, man. So how's your day going and what has life been like since the pandemic?
Yeah, the day's going great. I appreciate you asking. I think overall it's been a whirlwind the last year and a half or so with the pandemic. Our business started in 2018. So we're about to have our 3-year birthday coming up here in about a month. And so, we were really, obviously nobody expected the pandemic, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we were really hitting that scaling and growth phase, going into 2020. And so, it obviously took us aback a little bit. We had to make some pivots. Less brands were advertising and spending money initially on with just the uncertainty. So, as a vendor and an agency, you got to be, prepared to kind of pivot and adjust to where your clients are at. But I think it made us better in the long term because we were looking at opportunities that were different than what we were doing before and looking for businesses that were thriving during the pandemic. So how could we partner with new companies? We were doing a lot of work in hospitality and travel previously. Had to pull back there, obviously, given the pandemic. So we're looking at, okay, what other types of businesses might be good for us to work with? An example I can give you is a company out of Sweden that makes face masks. And this company, they went crazy during the pandemic. Obviously, everybody needed a mask. And so they were, a great partner for us that we probably never would have found if it wasn't for the pandemic. So, I think overall there's lessons learned. It was challenging, but I think we're better off for it on the long term, just looking at what we accomplish and ultimately staying in business. I think as a startup, that's the most important thing you can do is just stay in business.
That's that's a real thing because a lot of people didn't make it, to this side of the pandemic, to where businesses that did what they needed to do, like they pivoted, like you were saying, businesses that did pivot during the pandemic are still here and present. Some companies did not know how to pivot. They didn't have a marketing agency to help them put their brand out there during a time of a crisis. And I believe that's still possible, right? Like it's still possible to flourish in the midst of a pandemic, right?
Absolutely. I think it's perspective, and then it's also being realistic with the circumstances you're dealing with. Like, obviously, if travel's not happening, don't go message and call 100 businesses in that industry. It just doesn't make sense. Find that opportunity to pivot and say, all right, who's thriving here? E-commerce, digital businesses, companies that, people are spending more money, than ever online and not going to stores as much in person. So look for some opportunities there.
Yeah, you're right. And I think there's a lot of people trying to create their new thing. And because of what COVID took a lot of businesses away. Some people lost their dreams. Some people lost their passions in the midst of a pandemic because they lost family members. They experienced COVID and survived, whatever it is. But I have something that wasn't on the paper, and I said I was going to do this, but what kind of word of encouragement do you have for business owners and businesses out there who did experience a major impact from COVID, but are now trying to get their businesses back up and running? Like, what word would you like to share with them?
I think the biggest thing is remember your why. And I, had days, early on in the pandemic where I struggled too. Like, wow, the walls are kind of closing in on us. Things aren't going the way we'd hope. But, remember your why and what got you started and why you get out of bed every morning. And if you get back to kind of the basics there, then it's easier to come up with kind of that game plan of how you're going to, make that pivot and re-strategize. But I think remembering your why is important.
Okay. So remember your why, folks. So, Alex, what is your why? Why are you doing this? Why marketing? Why this purpose? Why?
So it's a long story, but I would say when it pertains to my day-to-day work with my clients, and so,
Mhm.
Distinction Agency, we work with professional athletes, social media influencers, and businesses.
Mhm.
My why there is to provide value, and for them to say, this was a great person for me to work with. You know,
Mhm.
any athlete, influencer, business, they can work with any agency or no agency. There's plenty of them out there. So for me, it's how can I add value, and build those long-term relationships. And at the end of the day, I want my
Yeah.
clients to become like family and friends. That's how I look at it. Is if you just look at me as somebody who's going to call you, regarding a business opportunity,
Mhm.
that's probably not the best relationship that it could have been. Ultimately,
Yeah.
being a confidant for our clients, and
Mhm.
giving them that guidance is really a why for me. So I would
Yeah.
say just, providing value is huge.
I like that. And for you to be like a co-founder and a CEO with that kind of mindset, I think is one powerful, and number two, it says a lot about the company in itself. Distinction Marketing Agency, like it says a lot about the value, the core values that if the leader represents something like this, then what does that say about the company? So, what kind of feedback have you heard from people, like maybe some testimonials from people who maybe they didn't know they needed marketing, or help or assistance or someone to connect them with another person? What kind of feedback have you heard?
Yeah, I think it's interesting, especially when we look at our talent side of the business, so working with athletes and influencers.
Hmm.
Marketing agent wasn't always a thing. Athletes have had contract agents for the longest time, but marketing agent really came onto the scene, with social media and the ability for practically anybody to monetize their following and brand. And
Right.
so, I think the game has changed a little bit in that regard. But for me,
Hmm.
it's just, making sure that in the end of the day, these clients, they're tasking us with doing the job and making sure that they're like, they're getting it done for me.
Yeah.
And going back to kind of the point about friends and family, the best testimonial is, getting invited to. I went to my client in the WNBA's wedding in April.
Wow. That's
That's
big.
a testimonial to me because she didn't need to invite me. That's
Right.
typically a very personal, intimate gathering of your closest
Hmm.
friends and family. And to me, that's a testimonial in itself.
That
And
is.
I think also, when we start in any new sport, another example I could give would be like track and field.
Hmm.
We started with one track and field athlete. It led to about five, and it was all
Wow.
word of mouth. It wasn't me just like, I'm going to go take over track and field and work with all the athletes there. No, it was just simply doing good work for somebody and then them
Hmm.
passing the word along. So I
Yeah.
think the best testimonials sometimes are ones where you don't ask somebody to necessarily write anything about you. It's just,
Hmm.
what are they saying, when you're not around, and,
Mm.
even just their small intention of inviting you to their wedding or their
Yeah.
son's birthday party or whatever. Like
Yeah.
that's really cool to me.
I like that. I like how you put that, because like in my emails, even with my follow up, or when I send people emails for the podcast, and even when I make posts on social media, the usual, like, hey, make sure you guys subscribe and leave a review, leave a comment. But what you said right there was very powerful, because even if you don't get those comments on Google review, the reviews on Google review, you may have people that are talking about you at the salon, at the
Mhm.
at the court, at the basketball court, wherever they are, they're talking about you because of the interaction they had with you, because it was, one, personable, and then two, there was something done with the business, or something done to inspire them to move forward in their business, and now they're telling everybody.
Mhm.
Distinction Agency, Alex. So I think that's very powerful. And it takes me as a business owner from that, like, okay, I need to make sure I'm getting all the likes, all the shares, versus somebody just randomly at a cookout, like, man, I've been watching this podcast, the Purpose Pod. He's interviewing people who are living with the purpose. It's inspired me to do XYZ, right?
Yep.
So I think
And
that's powerful.
And just to add to that, I think it's the balance, because the metrics, the likes, the follows, the comments, they matter too. And I want to
Mm,
make that very clear. But I think it's
yeah.
it's that balance of, prioritizing what we know as marketers needs to be there, that search engine optimization, those reviews, but then also
Yeah.
just prioritizing that personal element, right? How did that person
Mhm.
make me feel? What did I
Mhm.
learn when I was with them?
Yeah.
What good times did we have? Maybe we went to this amazing dinner together or this fun night out. Like those personal experiences, I think are really important too.
Yeah. Okay. I like that. And so for the person that's maybe they're not the influencer, maybe they're the business owner, and
Hmm.
they're looking for ways to get their business out there. You guys have small businesses.
Hmm.
You've worked with nonprofits, Fortune 500 companies. So how do you connect I guess the influencers with the businesses? Like, how do you guys do that? Do you do it in-house? Do you have to be a part of your business in order to have an influencer? How does that
Yeah,
work?
so everything is customized based off who we're working with. And to your point, we work with publicly traded companies on the New York Stock Exchange to companies that haven't even launched their product yet and are in pre-launch
Mm,
phase. And
yeah.
so everything is based on, number one, what is the product? Who's the target market, the demographic we're trying to reach? And
Hmm.
then from there, okay, what is our budget? What are our realistic goals? And what can we do here? And what do we want to prioritize? Do we want to prioritize, content? Then we're going to
Hmm.
hire a lot of micro influencers or lesser known athletes because we're going to be able
Mm,
to stretch that money far, get a ton of content for social, a ton of
yeah.
people talking about the brand. If we're
Hmm.
prioritizing brand lift and just huge, headlines, then we should probably go get the Pro Bowl quarterback and spend all the money on him because he's going to
Mm,
bring in the headlines and we don't necessarily need 10, 20, 30 micro influencers. So
wow.
really coming up with who you're trying to reach, what the product is, the
Hmm.
budget too obviously matters.
Yeah.
That then we can tailor the strategy from there and see what makes sense. But yeah,
Yeah.
for me,
I like
it's
that.
no cookie cutter strategy. Everything is designed for where the business is at and what they
Hmm.
need. And that's why I think, we've had a lot of successes. We can relate to the big companies and
Yeah.
know what they need. And also, I know what it's like to just start off. So I know, if you haven't even started selling your product, we probably should start here.
Yeah. So it's really anywhere in your journey you have this idea of a business or an idea of what you're about to take on, and you connect with someone from your agency then, or is it like, hey, after you have the concept of what you want to do, then we can start working with you? Like, when is it
Yeah,
a good time to contact you?
I would say from a business perspective, at least when you have the concept and know what you want to accomplish, that's probably the good point.
Hmm.
Because then we can really, act as consultants and give counsel and guidance on what we've seen.
Yeah.
And I think this ties back a lot to even before I was working with Distinction. I've worked at a
Hmm.
couple different agencies, worked at the Miami Dolphins. And so I've seen a lot of different things that go on, both
Hmm.
positive and negative for companies. And one of the biggest mistakes I've seen, consumer brands do often is they invest a ton of money in marketing, but the
Mm,
product isn't ready. It's not good. Like I was working a lot in consumer tech early in my career,
yeah.
and they'd have amazing, they'd get a feature in Oprah magazine or the New York Times or whatever,
Hmm.
but the product wasn't ready to be mass manufactured and shipped, or
Mm,
something was off with the product review. Like, so that's
yeah.
the big thing, is like you do have to have that great product, or at least
Yeah.
have it ready to be shipped before you can go out and tell the masses.
Mm. I like that, and like as someone with like my brand, like the never stop, never quit, repeat thing.
Hmm.
Like with my brand, no one ever taught me how to start a clothing line or a brand. I just went out there and I just started doing it, right?
Yep.
Just being creative, being a visionary. I was like, I want this out there. I want this message out there. And to your point, what you were saying, like I haven't like really put myself out there to the mass yet. I've been doing it, social media, those who see my posts, those who I meet in the stores or wherever I'm at, I show them my merch. But like I'm waiting for the quality to be right.
Hmm.
All my materials to be consistent, the look to be consistent, the feel to be consistent, because I want to be able to take it to that next level. To your point, like it's not like you have an idea, but you're going to serve it cold. when everybody else is expecting something hot, it's just like, I don't want it anymore. Now you have a trash idea. So how do people bounce back from that, like that good idea that started off good, but you take all the wrong approaches to putting it out there? Like, how do you bounce back from that as someone who did not present their business the right way?
Yeah, and first impressions really do matter. And the end of the day, like they matter tremendously. I would say it also depends. Is it a brand that has produced before? So say you have, a clothing line and you're coming out with hats next, and you were doing shirts before. Well, if the shirts were great quality, the hats might have missed the mark slightly. People are going to say, well, those were great shirts. They'll get the hats together.
Right.
If your very first product, the shirts, are not great quality, well, why am I going to come back and be a repeat customer? Because that first impression was negative. So I think, and that's the power of brand, right? Like Nike, they can drop a bad shoe. It exploded on Zion Williamson a few years ago. That was a headline that was gone in a few days because they're Nike. They're kings of the space. One shoe exploded. Well, look at everything they've done over the shelf of their brand. It was just a blip on the radar. If a brand new sneaker company had that happen with the face of college basketball, they're done.
They're done. They're done. That's real. And it's hard to be the person on a startup. I guess people who inherit businesses, they don't have to experience the startup nightmare at times. But people who do have to start up something, you guys have a startup company. We face different adversities and we face different challenges as individuals. What were some of the challenges that you faced in your journey from interning to now being a CEO, co-founder?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot on that journey. So, I'm relatively young. I'm 29 years old. So, I'm not somebody who, has a decades of experience, but in my experience, I think it was a combination of being in the right places and also just timing. And what I mean by that, is my very first internship was a small PR agency. They specialized in working in sports. So automatically I was in the right place at the right time to kind of just learn the business and learn what is public relations, how does it relate to sports. And so that was a really great kind of foundation for me, and just like, okay, I like this because I studied sports management in school. I was always a sports fan growing up, and I was always interested in the business side of it too. For a while, I thought I was going to be in the front office, like GM, kind of trading players, drafting players, signing players, and who knows, maybe one day, in my future, I could do that. That would be awesome. But that was kind of always the way I thought I was going to go. And but you realize there's not really a path there, especially like in college. There's very few internships and opportunities to actually do that. So the next closest thing for me was I really liked marketing and PR. I always was interested in who was promoting what company, who was. I remember when I was in high school, there was the talking Nike dolls. It was like a LeBron and Kobe. People probably remember that. And I remember just being fascinated, like, how did they come up with this? And what was all the thought about that? So I always had interest in that. Yeah. So landed at, a good first internship. And then I landed a second internship that, I didn't enjoy. I won't go into detail on that, but learned like, okay, fit really matters where you go. And then from there worked at a couple agencies as well that, really just gave me the opportunity to learn early on. And what I said about timing earlier, what I was referring to was social media was just starting off. And the executives at agencies thought it was beneath them, at least most of them. Meaning the intern or the entry-level person was in charge of social media for big companies, big athletes, they were in charge of the social media. And so I really quickly learned, like, okay, you can reach your consumer here way easier than any other way. Was learning different strategies, was diving into Facebook ads and all these different things, while also still doing traditional PR, getting media placements for clients and, the ESPNs, the Sports Illustrateds, New York Times, etc. And so kind of that blend of traditional media and digital was really what interested me. And so, timing was good because, like I said, social media was just becoming a thing. And I just saw that huge opportunity. And then, At the last agency I was at before I left to
Mm-hmm.
start Distinction, they worked with a lot of consumer brands that had brand ambassadors who were athletes.
Mm-hmm.
And so that gave me the first real opportunity to work with athletes and brands to promote those partnerships. And
Yeah.
so I was really enjoying the work I was doing there, highlighting, why David Ortiz was using this product and how it was helping him on the field for the Red Sox, or why Andre Ward, the
Mm-hmm.
boxer, used this, getting ready for his next fight. And so
Yeah.
I was loving that. And I was also
Mm-hmm.
seeing big opportunity with influencer marketing. It was just starting out. It really wasn't agencies focused on it back then around 2016, 2017.
Mm-hmm.
And it was the wild, wild west. Influencers, some would get $10,000 a post, some would get $10 a post.
Dang.
No one knew the market. It was crazy, right?
Yeah.
And this is once again where timing mattered, because senior executives, bosses, they didn't know how to do this. And I was really interested in it, was reading about it. I was like, all right, what if I take my interests on the sports side,
Mm-hmm.
combine it with the influencer marketing side, and start an agency revolving around athlete and influencer marketing? And at the time, we were one of the few to be doing that and focusing on both.
Yeah.
There was a lot of agencies just jumping into influencer, and obviously
Mm-hmm.
a lot into sports. But kind of that blend is really where we found some success and got our start early on.
Yeah.
And really just focused on being really good at that, and then public
Mm-hmm.
relations, which I was doing previously.
Mm-hmm.
And that's about it. Just really
Yeah.
focusing in and honing in on being good at something that was a little bit new and was exciting to brands.
Yeah. I mean, and they set you up for success then if they put you on it and they're like, hey, Alex, do this. And at first you may have thought like, man, this sucks. I have to do this. But then you start to see the value in what you're doing. And now you take that value and then you turn it into purpose. And now look at you. Like it's like, wow, like you could really learn something. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Now I can. It froze.
Yeah, like literally my internet just like cut off. I don't that's one thing I don't like about online stuff sometimes. Like sometimes it just don't work out. Sometimes it just like feels
It
I'm
happens.
over here talking and I'm like, what is going on? Like
I'm just glad it wasn't mine. I thought it could be me for a second.
it might have been yours though. Let me I'm just playing. No.
But
Everybody like he needs to upgrade to Verizon or something. But yeah, Spectrum setup is really off and on. I was like, I don't like when it happened. Anyway, let's not give my internet company the light or the attention. We don't want to market them right now. I'm just playing. So
we don't.
and they say bad publicity is good publicity, right?
It can be.
It can be. I mean, I'm not saying everybody should have bad publicity though. So
It just depends what it is.
Right. So you're talking about influencers, right? And a
Mhm.
lot of people that are millennials, they may know what influencers are. Some parents who have businesses now, they may not even know. Like we have these small companies from the cities or from the country areas. So influencers, you're talking about basketball players, actresses, like people with how many followers and what kind of influencers should we look for when we're wanting someone to market our business?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we define influencers really as people who have influence on social media at the end of the
Mm-hmm.
day. And many times they transcend social as well, like an athlete would or an actress, etc. But at the bare minimum, it's somebody with a significant following on social. It could be on
Mm-hmm.
one platform like Instagram or YouTube, or it could be across all platforms. And
Yeah.
really, what we focus on at Distinction, which is I think a really important thing for the businesses we work with, is we don't only just want following and engagement. We want
Mm-hmm.
people who can create great content, because in the end of the
Mm.
day, content quality is critical.
Right.
And as a business, if you're hiring an influencer, you want them to promote you on social media and give you kind of that brand lift, hopefully help you get more followers, get more sales and conversions and all
Mm-hmm.
that. But you
Yeah.
also want that kind of third party validation and that content that somebody can give you, that, your favorite football player is wearing your shirt, or,
Mm-hmm.
the actress from the Netflix show you watch, just promoted this supplement. So you're going
Yeah.
to check it out. And, you know, this has always existed, right? Like, people have always, looked at what celebrities do. I mean, look at Michael Jordan, for example. Anything he touched turned into gold. Everybody wanted
Right.
it. But
Right.
now it's just much more spotlit because we're all on our phones for hours a day on these social platforms. And so
Mm-hmm.
we know these people and we see them constantly in our feed. And I think especially with Gen Z and millennials, you know, the studies and the data shows they make purchases based off the suggestions of their favorite influencers,
Mm.
celebrities, or friends.
Wow.
It's all there. I saw something just on TikTok recently that said
Yeah.
49% of Gen Z bought a product because they saw it recommended on TikTok. So that is
Wow.
basically half of that generation has
Jeez.
purchased a product because
Right.
they saw it on TikTok, which is a pretty new
Mm-hmm.
app. And I'm sure the data
Yeah.
for Instagram would be even much higher.
Mm-hmm.
So that's for us. Like, if you're a business owner listening to this, an influencer, they can obviously give you that promotion, hopefully that boost in sales, but also
Mm-hmm.
just that validation that they endorse your product and you're getting that content from them that can be repurposed on your channels, your website, email, newsletter, etc. That's huge also.
Yeah. That's good info. So now, would it be something like if well, I've seen athletes in commercials for like, frosted flakes or something like I've seen athletes in like, so you could have someone who is pretty much coming into another sector of professionalism where they're an athlete football player, but now they're marketing NASCAR
Mm-hmm.
or doing something like that. So you could have a moms and pop store, you could have a clothing brand, podcast, book, like you can use influencers for all of that, right?
Absolutely. It really applies to anything. I mean, we've used them for almost every product category and seen success in them. And the biggest
Mhm.
thing is authenticity. It
Mhm.
needs to be a symbiotic relationship where the athlete likes frosted flakes or
Mm.
the influencer uses that skin cream, because if
Mhm.
not, the consumer's going to see right through it and be like, this is just a
Mm.
sponsored
A fake
post, it's an
commercial.
ad. But if it's somebody who uses the product and, many times, is posting about it, even if they're not getting paid, or talking about it to their friends, like, that's the best type of endorsement a company can get.
Yeah.
So I think authenticity is absolutely critical.
Yeah. That's real. I try to remain authentic, when I'm doing my videos like Instagram live. I'm just learning this whole Instagram stuff. Honestly, right before COVID, I was like Facebook Live, was doing Facebook, and I wasn't messing with Instagram. I didn't even see the potential or even the value that was there. But there's so much value in Instagram. And I've heard
Oh
you
yeah.
say that, you love using Instagram. So could you talk to people about utilizing Instagram to really help grow their business?
Yeah, so I'm a big advocate for Instagram, and in full disclosure, many of my clients that I've signed, the first contact was Instagram, direct
Wow.
messages.
Mhm.
Especially a few years ago, before they had the kind of primary inbox and general
Mhm.
inbox, all
Yeah.
DMs just went to the same folder. And so it was
Mhm.
very easy to reach people that, quite frankly, you weren't going to find their email, you weren't going to cold
Mhm.
call, this NFL player, or anything like that. But Instagram is the place to connect. And the
Yeah.
biggest thing with Instagram is you've got to use it with intention. And so for me, it's
Mm.
a very professional platform. I want to show what I'm doing, at least most of the time, not always, but things that relate to marketing, even just like my travels for business, events I attend, something like the Super Bowl. Definitely want to highlight that,
Right.
and then also just sharing things that are going to resonate with people you already work with or people that you want to work with. I think
Mm.
that's huge. Is just using Instagram with intention. The
Yeah.
platform continues to evolve, more things get added.
Mhm.
There's now in-app shopping, there's Instagram Reels, which is basically TikTok in
Right.
Instagram.
Mhm.
I think one of the biggest things to happen to Instagram too was just the stories.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
basically,
I love that.
what they took that from Snapchat essentially,
Yeah.
but made it better. And, Instagram stories to me, I mean, it's just the best way to connect with people in a casual way, but it's also like, it's kind of reminding them like, oh yeah, hey, I was thinking about you, Alan, how are you? And then
Right.
before you know it, you take those, interactions that are happening on the Instagram and take them offline, whether it's a phone call, a podcast interview, or a
Right.
lunch. Like, let's take that online interaction,
Mm-hmm.
offline, and then that's really where you can drive business and really use the platform to its full advantage.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm starting now. I love Instagram. You can ask my wife. She'll be like, every day, like I wake up and I'm like, all right, what am I about to post? Like, I'm thinking on the strategic side now, like you said, be intentional. I'm being more intentional with Instagram. So I'm like, okay, I'm the type of person that likes to share people's stuff as well.
Hmm.
Sometimes I'm like, Alan, slow your roll, because everybody doesn't just see your stuff and just like shares it instantly, but I am that kind of person. Like, so when people meet me in person, they know that I'm just that authentic, genuine person as well, where I connect with the random person. So I may scroll past your page, or somebody may share something and I'm like, oh, cool, they're doing this. I love their drive. Let me share it. Right.
Yep.
So visibility, Instagram brings that, where you can get visibility really quick because someone can instantly reshare your thing. And I love how it allows you to see the views on your stories
Hmm.
and the conversions on like your IG reels, right? So
Hmm.
those are just awesome. So could you talk about like the conversions and like utilizing those to grow your business?
Yeah, so like if you have a consumer product, so something that you're selling for, let's say, 19.99, and you have an e-commerce store, whatever, like there's so many different tools you can use on Instagram to be successful. But to me, the targeting in the ads is where it gets really fun. And what I mean by
Mm,
that is, if
hmm.
you nail the targeting on a specific ad. I was working with a football player last year on Instagram targeting, where we got his cost per click down to 1 cent, which
Wow.
that's remarkable. To get a
Right.
click on an ad for a penny, I mean, it's practically unheard of. Industry
That's
average is
crazy.
significantly higher, but that
Yeah.
was refinement. That was not like we just went in there, pushed a few buttons, and boom, it was at 1 cent. That
Hmm.
was all right. We ran, I think it was probably 15, 20 ads before that, different
Yeah.
locations, different age, different gender, different keywords, seeing what was working,
Mm,
what wasn't, tinkering with it, and getting it to that place. And that's what's critical. And a lot of what we're encouraging our clients to do
hmm.
is basically put ad spend on the influencer content or the athlete content. So they
Yeah.
can hire, an athlete to not only, promote the product, post about it, but then they can use their ad spend and put money behind that to reach additional people outside of that
Mm,
athlete's following.
yeah.
And we're finding that those ads with the content from the athlete, that
Hmm.
recognizable face, those are performing better than just an ad of a generic face of a model or a
Right.
stock image or a product image.
Hmm.
Those are performing really well. So the advertising features, can be very valuable for any business,
Hmm.
especially if you're selling something where you're just trying to get that click to your website or to the store and
Yeah.
make that purchase, because then
Hmm.
you can really track it and see, okay, how many people are going to the website from there? How many purchases are we getting? If we're
Yeah.
not getting purchases, what's the disconnect? Maybe it's the website,
Mm,
things like that. So the targeting is very
yeah.
powerful.
See, and like, man, see, I'm glad you said that. See, I knew it was a reason why I brought you on here. So and Pastor Speller says he made it. He made it. So so the the crazy thing is I looked at my like GoDaddy account. I'm looking at all my conversions, looking at everything, seeing how many people view stuff, how many people share stuff, how many people bookmark stuff, and how many people go to my website. And I'll have like on LinkedIn and my website, like people just coming checking out my page, checking me out, following me. Like I've grown my Instagram like over like 2,000 or so people in the last year and a half by myself. And my friend Angelica, she taught me some things and I just ran with it. And it's grown off, just from that. Never spent money on followers or anything. And so it's growing like that. But it's like, all right, how do I convert this to book sales and then
Mhm.
clothing sales? So what are some, is it, so it could be my web, like you said, it could be the website, Could it be the way we're presenting it, or even just like
Yeah,
it
so
can't just say buy this noun, right?
yeah, and I'd be happy to take a look at it for you and give you kind of more of a formal audit on
Yeah.
that. But
Okay.
just off the top of my head, without looking at it, I mean, it could be a lot of things. I think the biggest thing when you land on a website is there needs to be that call to action. Buy
Mm,
now, like whether it's a landing page or very close, because people are not going to spend much time searching for something, right? People
right.
don't want to just spend money like crazy, right? Like they're at the
Right.
casino. So it's got to be very clear
Hmm.
where you make that purchase, and then
Hmm.
very clear again why they're making that purchase, whether that's
Mm,
who you are, what they're going to take away from your book, why your merchandise is the best merchandise they can wear. That
yeah.
why and that storytelling element is critical. And then I would
Mm,
say that last part is that third party validation, whether it's from media. You see a lot of websites, they'll say featured on Forbes, featured on
right.
Entrepreneur. That's third party validation, because if you were
Yeah.
there, it's like, okay, if those outlets are writing about this, is definitely a legitimate business. Or
Right.
that third party validation of, oh wow, look, there's that NBA player who played in the finals last night. He's
Hmm.
rocking with this brand, and read the book and wrote a review. So I definitely got
Right.
to check it out. So it
Yeah.
could be several different things, but I would say, like, if you look at it through the consumer's lens and say, if I didn't know this person,
Hmm.
would I buy this? And if the
Mm,
answer is yes, okay, then how easy is it to buy this?
right.
Because that's the other thing. It's got to be easy. We're all in the Amazon era
Yeah.
of,
That's good.
going on there, put it in the cart, all your stuff saved in, buy now.
Hmm.
And
Right.
so it's got to be simple. If they're digging, looking for, where to buy it, if they put in way too much information, they're just
Hmm.
going to bounce off the site.
Man. See, I should give you $100 right now for that, man. Like that was, I mean, like that's real, like people, because like when I built my website, let's just say like I'm an entrepreneur, started my podcast, book, clothing line, all that good stuff, right? And still doing my 9 to 5. And it could be draining. It could
Mhm.
drain you, especially when you're doing everything. I make my own flyers. Send my own emails. Like
Yep, I
I
get
am the
it.
team. I am the team. Right? Like when it says the Purpose Pod team, is like Alan. That's Alan right there. Right? But so doing all of that, I could be doing it without the right, I guess, tools or
Mhm.
resources, because I'm putting up a website, but my website has, shirts, and then you click on this shirt, then it has red, white, blue, yellow, green, blue. You give people, I heard if you give people too many options, like they're just
Yes.
going to like not do anything, right?
Yes, exactly. And that's the biggest thing. You can't give them too many options. And I learned that when starting my agency too, because there's a lot of, different things you can sell as a marketing agency, right? Everything
Yeah.
from social media, ads, growth, content, public relations, SEO, website build outs. I mean, if you give too many options, you're just going to run around in circles like, well,
Right.
I think we need the website, but we also need
Hmm.
social media, but we can't afford
Mm,
both. So maybe we'll
right.
just hold off for a few months. Whereas if it's
Hmm.
just like, all right, we can help you with athlete and influencer marketing and content, or we can
Hmm.
help you with public relations, social media, and that's what
Yeah.
we're going to do. You just kind of make it simpler. And then, yeah, that call to action is absolutely critical. Like even on the landing page of our website,
Hmm.
like we have the tagline, and then there's a button that says let's talk, and you click that button
Mm,
and it takes you right to the contact form. So
yeah.
it is right there trying to drive people there to
Yeah.
ultimately send us a message and set up a call.
I like that. I like that a lot. So yeah, I'm definitely gonna have to make my page one page, my website one page, one button. This just has a picture, with the book, and it says buy now. Like no
Yep.
other information. Like if they want to read the about me or anything else, my bio, all that stuff, I'll put that on another page or something. But like just the buy now, or should you? So call to action. Should it be like buy now, purchase now, or should it be attached with a statement like life
Yeah.
changing game plan, buy now?
It depends how you lay it out. I don't think there's a wrong or a right answer here. I think it's just making it very easy to make that purchase. But
Okay.
it's also where you're driving the traffic from. Because if you're giving
Mm,
people on social media the why they need to purchase it, and you're running ads there, Well, then the people coming through those ads already know why they need to purchase it. So you just make it really
Mm,
simple on the website.
yeah.
But if it's more organic website traffic where you're not advertising and not telling people who you are, then I think it's more important to tell that story there. So
Mm,
it really is just kind of a case by case basis.
okay. That makes sense. Because a lot of people, they're afraid of stepping into the world of, oh, I'm getting a marketing team, a PR, I'm getting a lawyer, I'm getting this, that. Like when we start to see what we need, and then we start to count the costs, and then you're not generating revenue from your business yet. So it's like, well, I know I need a marketing team, I know that I need a publicist, I know I need this, but I can't make this move yet because of finances. What should people do in that moment? Is it like, okay, you focus on the publicist first or the marketing first or the business strategy? Like, what should people focus on?
It definitely, once again, depends on what type of business it is.
Mm-hmm.
But I think if you aren't marketing yourself and you're a new startup, no one is going to buy from you.
Mm.
Other than family who, it's a sympathy purchase, they wanted to support you early on, whatever, or friends.
Yeah.
You're not giving people that why if you're not marketing or doing PR and telling your story, your
Mm.
background, how you got to where you are, why you're doing what you're doing. Like, so,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even Bill Gates said if he was down to his last dollar, he would spend it on PR or marketing. And,
Mm. Wow.
that to me, like, that's Microsoft, that's computers, that's technology. And he's telling you if he had $1 left, he's putting it to marketing. And that's because he's got to
Right.
acquire new customers.
Come
If he gets
on.
another customer, he stays in business. So I think that's critical. And I know it's easier said than done, like especially bootstrapping early on. I
Mm-hmm.
think one of the biggest things you can do is just bet on yourself, put every dollar you make early on back into the business. That's what I did. You got to just spend money to make money.
Mm-hmm.
And then also look for resources out there, whether it's, traditional bank loans, raising investor VC money,
Mm-hmm.
looking for grants for small businesses if you're a minority, or, there's so many different ways you can do it.
Yeah.
But the biggest thing is you are going to have to spend money to make money. And,
Mm.
and that's what I think, some people struggle with. And
Yeah.
being an entrepreneur means you're a risk taker. So if
Right.
you want to be an entrepreneur, you better be ready to take some risks.
Right. That's real. And I'm finding that out more and more each day. It takes risk to grow your business.
Mm-hmm.
Without risk, there's complacency. There's doing the same thing over and over again. He says, yeah, you have. So Pastor Speller says, yeah, you can have the best product, but if no one can find you, it does not profit you. Uh,
Spot on.
Spot on. And and that's why like visibility is everything. Like, but it's just like when you get the visibility, are you going to be ready? Like we were talking about earlier. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, so you get 1,000 people who want to buy your product. Do you even have 1,000, products,
Yep.
there for your people? So higher risk, higher value. Exactly, Brendan. So definitely. So TikTok, let me tell you this. I just downloaded, we talked about TikTok earlier. You mentioned it earlier. TikTok, I downloaded it and I've been having trouble setting it up. It's giving me some error or whatnot. But after I download this thing, I've never used it before, bro. I've been the guy that's like, I've been the old school guy, like, I ain't using that stupid thing. Like this, all these fools on here making these crazy videos. But my personality and who I am, like I love dancing, right? My friends,
Oh,
they
you
would
should
use
definitely get on there.
yeah, my friends messaged me. They're like, Alan, you love to dance. You should definitely get a TikTok, promote your brand, and do it that way. You would kill it. And I was like, nah, I'm not doing TikTok. But now I'm going to give it a shot. So I'm definitely going to do that. So what are like some tips for like 3 tips that we can take with us if we want to take on the TikTok platform?
Yeah, and that's a good question. So I would say the first thing is don't try to translate what you do on Instagram, Facebook over to there. It's all about authenticity, showing your
Mhm.
personality, and just being unique and different. And I
Yeah.
think that's something even I learned with TikTok. I tried to just take kind of what works with Instagram and put it over there, and I was like, this isn't this isn't converting the same. This isn't growing as quickly.
Right.
So that's one thing I would say. And we work with some TikTok influencers that have, upwards of 1 million followers. Some
Mm-hmm.
have, several million. And so we've seen like they're constantly posting. They're totally
Mm-hmm.
themselves, and they're not afraid to put themselves out there. And the other
Yeah.
thing you'll find with TikTok is be ready for your moment. And what I mean by that is
Mm.
almost every person on that platform goes viral at some point. It happened to
Jeez.
me. A random video, it got like 700,000 views, a bunch of likes,
Dang.
comments, and I didn't expect it. But
Yeah.
be ready for that moment, so that when that happens, the other content on your page that all these new people are coming over from the For You page and checking you out,
Mm-hmm.
it resonates with them. And that's something I wish I had done differently. It was like, I wish when my video of, I think it was like a Lakers Heat game pre-pandemic, I wish when that went viral, I
Yeah.
had all of my business content on my page so people could have seen it. And
Yeah.
so that would be the other thing
Man.
I'd say is be ready for that viral moment, because it'll come. And I think that's part of TikTok's algorithm to hook you, to be honest, is Instagram, no one goes viral unless they're posting constantly and on there for years.
Right.
Typically, TikTok, it seems like you're gonna go viral in the next few months, Alan. Just be
Wow.
ready for it.
Just be ready for it. All right. So hey, look, I'm gonna walk into it. Y'all gonna see me on TikTok acting a fool. I'm just here doing a chicken, and I'm just playing. But I have that personality. Like my wife will sit in the car with me, and I'm like singing songs by myself, being ridiculous, rapping, getting in the streets, just getting the gutty. I'm getting real good with the rapping, being real thuggish. And then, I do that, and then she looks at me, she's like, yeah, like you need to get a life. You're entertaining yourself, so yeah, definitely going to do that. Everyone have their 10 minutes of fame. Exactly. Like we all got to do that. And I love what you said, like be ready for your moment, be prepared for the moment. Don't just go out there, doing things and wanting the big outcome, but you're not ready. Wanting $1 million, but you're not ready to hold on to $1 million is different.
And Brendan's right about the trends too.
Yeah.
Like checking out what's trending and what's new is huge also, because there's things that will come on there and you'll see it the first time and you're like, wow, that was weird. And then you see it 40, 50 more times over the next week from different creators, and you realize it's like the top trending thing, and people are getting millions of views for it. So definitely
hashtags are still lit too.
Oh yeah, hashtag matter over there. And it's all about getting to the For You page, because that is where the magic happens. It's similar like Instagram's explore page. Like if you land on that For You page, every user could potentially see your content. Whereas if not, it's just the people following you that are seeing your content. So that's the big kind of North Star if you're a TikTok creator, is get to that For You page.
Okay. So like with me starting off, with anyone starting off, I'm just gonna say me. So it's my show. I'm getting this today, people. But since so with me just starting off, I don't have any posts yet. Number one, should I attach it to my Facebook, or should I just create it with an email? I'll ask that question first. Should I
create it with an email?
Create it with an email. Okay, create it with an email, because they like to dig in all your information on Facebook once they get access. Anyway, so I created with an email, but will people not follow me because I only have one like video?
No, I don't think it's that. So I guess my biggest thing with TikTok would be decide what you want out of it. And I think this was another mistake I made early on, just thinking it's another kind of personal branding page. I'll just post what I did this past week or this weekend. If your goal on there is to grow your podcast, then make the goal around that. And you can do that while dancing and showing what it is. If your goal is to sell merch, well, you can do that on there too. Whatever it is, like determine the goal and then come up with the content strategy that supports it while being yourself, being authentic, showing your personality. And just realize that you've got to post consistently. Don't get down if some of these videos don't perform. And remember, at the end of the day, it's TikTok. Don't take it too serious. Like, most of I would bet, most of your best friends and family are probably still not on there or using it very often. Like, just go put yourself out there and have fun with it.
You're right though. Like when you said don't put yourself down, brother, let me tell you, I'm like, you put in like as creators, as entrepreneurs, business owners, sometimes you're the one creating the content, sometimes you're the one creating the event, the idea, and you put it out there, and it almost seems like Facebook is being shady, Instagram is being shady, because it's like no one sees that post.
Yep.
Is it the fact that no one sees it, or is it the fact that the same amount of people are seeing it, but no one's engaging with it?
So each platform is different, but Facebook killed organic reach, meaning it's
Mm,
all pay for play now. And
wow.
in theory, I think they kind of killed their platform, because why am I going to go post on Facebook if no one's going to see it or engage with it outside of the 10 people I went to high school with or my family? So
Right.
I think that's a big problem and probably a conversation for another day. But
Mm-hmm.
the interesting part is Facebook owns Instagram. And
Right.
my perspective on it is a lot of what happened with Facebook is coming to Instagram. It's just a
Mm,
matter of time. They've
yeah.
already started lowering organic reach. Posts aren't
Oh.
getting as many views as they used to for a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's how do you get ahead of that? Instagram still, you can reach a lot of people without doing paid advertising,
Mm-hmm.
but a lot of companies now are like, okay, how can we have great organic reach, but also have a paid strategy to go with it, and to
Right.
kind of give it that extra boost, kind of like I was talking about earlier about boosting an influencer and athlete's
Mm-hmm.
content. It's just
Yeah.
kind of to give it that extra nudge that it
Mm-hmm.
probably didn't need a few years ago, but now, you want to make sure you can reach as many people and get the most out of your investment. So
Yeah.
each one's different, but ultimately the thing to remember with social media platforms is they make their money on advertising,
Mm-hmm.
and the way to get people to spend more on advertising is to lower the organic reach and
Mm-hmm.
increase the paid reach.
Yeah. That's true. So when Instagram says you spend $100 and 10,000 to 25,000 people in the state of Missouri or whatever, like wherever you are is going to like see this
Yep.
post. Is that real, or is it like, I've
Oh, that's
always like,
real.
it's real. Okay. Cause I'm
Yeah.
like, all right, I'm not really giving them $100 and they're not going to do it, even though it says
No,
they will.
that's real. And
Okay.
they'd be in really big trouble if it wasn't. But from
Yeah.
everything I've seen and the analytics I've looked at and everything, it's very real.
Hmm.
And so when I talk about, ads doing as well as a cent per click, I
Hmm.
mean that just doesn't happen organically, and so
Yeah.
that there's a lot of magic to be found in those ads if you can
Hmm.
figure it out and refine it for your
Mm.
business or yourself.
Yeah. Do you have any like one tip that, I know that's what you guys do, but could you give us a golden nugget, brother, so that we can make it to the next day?
With Instagram advertising, I would say
Yeah.
the biggest piece of advice I can give away for free is don't target too wide. Don't target
Mm,
the United States.
okay. Mm,
Hone in big time.
yeah.
Hone in on Raleigh, North Carolina,
Hmm.
or even here in Miami.
Yeah.
I probably want to hone in on Coconut Grove and Coral Gables as opposed to the whole city of
Mm,
Miami. Like, really hone in. And it's the
yeah.
same thing with age, gender,
Hmm.
keywords, all of that. If you go too wide, it's just
Yeah.
going to serve to people that probably aren't going to convert with your ads. But if you
Mm,
really hone in and you're like, hey, our business is born and bred in Raleigh. This is who we are. And you
hmm.
target Raleigh hard, that's going to resonate with those people seeing that, because they're like, we're from here
Mm,
too. Like, we're going to
right.
support this local business. So
Yeah.
that's what I would say is really hone in on your targets, and don't go too wide.
I like that. I like that. That was a good free one. That was a good free one. He said anything else, y'all gonna have to pay. I ain't playing out here, man. We gotta eat. So yeah, I'm all about, being financial savvy, because I come from not having anything. And sometimes, even though I've scaled up in life, I still live with that mentality where I'm like,
Mhm.
I gotta pay for this. Like, it's been really tough on me, but now I'm changing the way I see business. And I'm like, well, if I can get it in front of people, because I know the value that it has, I know the value of my messages, I know the value in what I have. If I can put it in front of people, they will catch on and they may
Mhm.
support. So it's all about getting that. So you talked about micro and macro influencers, right? and the micro ones. So is it the micro ones that have less than 20,000 or 10,000 or so?
Yeah, so micro, I would say, is anywhere between even 5,000 to about 20 to 25,000.
Okay.
And then anything else we would define as macro. And
Mhm.
obviously, I don't like to use too many buzzwords, but you have people that are even beyond that, like super macro, whatever you want to call
Right.
them, that
Super
are,
duper.
in the millions. But yeah, I would
Yeah.
say micro is anywhere up to about 25,000 in my opinion.
Okay.
And there's a lot of value to be had there,
Yeah.
because you can find people who have high engagement, realistic expectations in terms of what they'll collaborate for.
Mhm.
And a lot of them are more niche. They're very focused on, covering local restaurants in South
Right.
Florida. So if I'm a local restaurant, that makes a lot more sense to me than just the food blogger who goes around the whole
Mm.
country who has 100,000
Come on. That was another free one, y'all. That was
followers.
another free one. We just got the hookup right there. So I went back to it because a lot of people are like, all right, influencers. I've seen people with 10 million followers or whatever, right? And like if it says they have that many followers, is it a true thing or is it something that you should believe? Like, how does that work?
Yeah, and so that's one of the big value we provide our brands is we audit influencers, meaning we can see who their followers are, the
Mm-hmm.
makeup of that, the countries, gender, location. We can see all of that through
Yeah.
some softwares we have, and that's critical because I'd be lying to you if I said there's no fraud in the influencer business. There is some
Right.
people, who just go buy, 100,000 followers and say, I have 100,000 followers, pay me. And their
Right.
bots are, people in other faraway countries. And so
Mm-hmm.
that is important. And that's where working with an agency like ours can be very valuable, as we can kind of quickly figure it out. And I
Mm-hmm.
also think it's within reason too, because sometimes what you'll find is like if you're working with a massive influencer,
Mm-hmm.
right? And they have 10 million followers and you only sell your product in the United States. Well, it's
Right.
very realistic that only 2 million of their followers are in the United States. And
Mm.
they might have 20% of their following in India, and that's
Mm-hmm.
because they really like them over there. That's not because they did anything sketchy. It's just
Yeah.
because their audience is so large that
Mm.
happened. That's
Yeah.
more of a red flag to me if somebody has 15,000 followers and
Mm-hmm.
20% are there, because it's like, wait a minute, this
Yeah.
person isn't massive where they live, but they're massive over there. So
Yeah.
that's something we work with. And,
Mm-hmm.
I think every industry got to be cognizant of that. And that's been
Mm-hmm.
happening even before social media. It used to
Yeah.
happen with TV networks, print magazines. They would inflate their numbers. I can't tell you how many print magazines would say our circulation is 500,000. There's no
Yeah.
way 500,000 people are reading that
Right.
magazine,
Yeah.
or X amount of people tuned into this TV episode on this regional network. It's like, no, they didn't.
Yeah. And then perception is everything, right? Like if
Uh-huh.
people, I mean, it's like with rappers, they rent cars, they go do stuff, or people do stuff and they're like, oh, this is the life I live, check me out, versus like, oh, this is where I'm at. People want the high life. They want the
Mm-hmm.
flashy, they want to know you got money, they want to know you got fast cars, big houses, women, men, whatever your thing is, people want to see that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Versus the person like I mean, there are people like Les Brown, people who are speaking positive, ET, but me, like I don't have the following, like massive following. I have a good following for somebody
Yeah.
who's a nobody from the South. But I have a pretty good, decent following of people who know me. I'm a networker. Wherever I go, elevator, bathroom, I'm meeting somebody and I'm making a connection. But it's not easy for everyone to do those things. So I
Yeah, and I
appreciate
mean,
the insight.
one of the little tips you can do, and
Yeah.
this is something, somebody else actually taught me this, and I was like, man, this is brilliant, and I've started doing it more now. And he's an influencer with about 1 million followers. When he meets somebody, so okay, you and I, Alan, we meet at the sports bar watching the fight
Mm-hmm.
last Saturday. Instead of asking them for their number, they'll say, "Oh, what's your Instagram? I'm gonna go
Mm-hmm.
follow you."
Right.
And then they follow each other, and it's just kind of that
Mm-hmm.
mutual transaction. They can DM each other if they want or not, but
Mm-hmm.
instead of 1,000 phone numbers in your phone that you're probably not going to call, Could have
Right.
just got 1,000 followers on Instagram from just those random interactions where you follow each other. So
Mm-hmm.
that's something, if you're really good about the networking in person and meeting people, social media is the new business card.
Yeah,
It can
I like
ultimately,
that.
you can drive it that way.
Social media is the new business card. See, Alex is dropping it. See, I like this guy. This guy is full of wealth. When you talk to people and they drop gems, their intellect is full of wealth. So I appreciate that, man. So what do you think? What is next for you, and what is next for Distinction Agency?
Yeah, I mean, I think the answer is it runs together. I would say it's growth, and it's doing it the right way. So we've been in
Yeah.
business 3 years now. It's obviously an important time for scaling and growing, and doing it the right way, staying true to our core values, and what's got us here,
Mm-hmm.
and just trying to avoid the landmines and mistakes that happen when companies grow, whether it's making bad decisions financially, hiring the wrong person, working with the
Mm-hmm.
wrong client. Like, I just
Yeah.
want to do good work with good people. Like, that's
Mm,
really what I want to do. And so making sure that as we grow, that continues to be, what is going on is critical, I think, over these next few years.
yeah. I'm still in that slogan. I want to do good work with good people. Alan Levi Simmons for city council. I'm just, no, I love that. I want to do good work with good people because you can meet some trashy people
Yep.
and they're all talk. They're like, yo, we're going to do this. This is going to be big. Like I run by myself mainly. I have a lot of people that I'm in my network. I have people that I know I could call on, but I mainly run on my own as far as a business owner because I know that if I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. I'm going to show
Yep.
up. And it shows for you. You said like this wasn't an interview where like, hey, next week, is our interview. Like this was like, hey, this is the date, it's a couple of months from now. You're like, okay, cool. And you showed up still, even though it's been a few months. I appreciate those kind of people. And those are the kind of people I invest in and I do business with because I know they show up.
Mm-hmm.
You could have great ideas and not show up. So
Absolutely. I mean, showing
yeah,
up is half the battle.
yeah,
Taking the phone call, going to the meeting. I mean, that is half the battle, especially when you don't want to. It's easy to do it when you're having a great day, you're enjoying
mm-hmm.
yourself, but you know, doing it when you're exhausted, you didn't sleep the night before, or things are going on in your personal life. Like, that's really what I think what separates people.
Yeah, that's big. It does. It separates the great from the not so great. Um, so winding up to the last question, and I appreciate you for flowing with me because I literally had all the questions I sent you in the email, and then the questions I have right here, and I'm looking at them, and I'm like, nah, that's not the flow where we're at, So, but I appreciate you for being able to flow like this. You're a great person to interview, and so I'm really thankful for this. So, my last question that I wanted, let me see, let me make sure this is my last. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So, what do you want your legacy to be?
That's a loaded question right there. But it's funny. Before a couple years ago, before starting my business, especially, I
Mm-hmm.
never thought about legacy. I was a young guy. Like, it never really crossed my mind, and it still doesn't cross it all the time. But I think, in the end of the day, I want people to know that I cared,
Mm-hmm.
that I stayed true to who I was, and I was a good person. I think that
Mm,
is legacy right there. Everything else on top of that, is just extra. I mean, obviously want to be known as great entrepreneur and businessman, and I think all of those things are important too. But at the end of the day, just staying true to myself, being a good person, like that's important to me, and just helping people. Like, I
yeah.
really do care about helping people. Just push forward in whatever it is, whether it's branding and marketing themselves, growing
Mm-hmm.
their small business, growing their nonprofit, whatever it is, just giving them, value, and saying he cared, and it wasn't just a transactional relationship.
Mm. I like that. See, you're the right kind of guy for people to work with. You don't meet like I can tell you're authentic, and I could smell some BS from 29 miles away. I'm just playing, but I don't know why 29, but that's what I came up with. But I love when I meet authentic people who are really passionate about what they do, and they really care about people. They're genuine and they're compassionate, and you taking the time to share that is very important. One, because there are people out here, mom and pop stores, nonprofits, small businesses, people who don't trust people, and they're carrying this baby of a idea or business, and they don't just want to hand it to anyone and say, hey, help me out, because it might tank them down. But distinction agency is an agency, marketing agency, that you guys should definitely check out. You guys definitely need to check out Alex. He will get you on the right path. Do you do any like individual coaching, or are you mainly just running the business?
I'm just running the business for now, but I wouldn't
Okay.
count that out in my later years.
Yeah. Yeah. That's good. And I can see that happening for you. So I can see great things happening for you guys. Ladies and gentlemen, please make sure you guys go follow Alex on Instagram. Let me get that up right there. Bam. Right there. And I was really looking at your last name, and I was like, Ona India. And I was like, Ona India. And I was like, nah, that's not how you say it. And then I think I saw one of your interviews, podcasts. I had to go look it up. And then you were like, Alex Onaindia.
Yep, you nailed
See,
it.
Onaindia. See, I'm very fluent in this thing right here, y'all. So my
Yeah,
wife
man.
says, great interviews, lots of golden nuggets and valuable info.
Thank you,
Enjoyed it.
Amber.
Pastor Antoine Speller says, enjoyed it. Thank you guys. Thank you guys. So what you were about to say something, I didn't mean to cut you off. I was
Oh, I
reading.
was just gonna say my dad's from Spain, and so this afternoon was rough for us. We were Spain was in the Euro Cup in soccer, which is
Yeah.
everything over there. They were in the
Yeah.
semifinal against Italy and lost in penalty kicks. So it was a
Oh
rough
wow.
day for the ancestors.
Wow. Wow. So do you when you're in like school or something, do people usually have a hard time with your name? What do you usually hear? What do people say like
Oh,
what's your last name?
I've heard everything. I've heard everything. A lot of people will just start and then they'll stop. They won't even like try. They'll just like, oh, Alex, oh no, and then I just correct them.
You're like,
But
it's me.
Ona India is another one I've gotten a lot.
Oh
But
no.
yeah, you'd be surprised. I mean, it follows me everywhere. Not
Yeah.
just school. It was a lot, but I
Yeah.
mean, I'll be in like the airport and they'll be like passenger recheck. They you can't even say it.
You're like, oh, they're probably calling me. They're probably
Yeah.
calling me. That's awesome, man. So, like, real quick, I know we're at the tail end. We've already finished our interview, but just on a personal side, like, so what are some things that you like to do in Miami
Mhm.
that that you just do on the weekend or something?
I mean, I love to spend time with my family, which is my wife and my dog right now. No
Yeah,
kids, but love to spend time with them.
yeah,
Um, be outdoors. It's beautiful down here, so spend time by the water. I
mm-hmm.
love to go to good eats, restaurants. Love to eat some good stuff, and
Yeah.
we love to travel too. So I would say those are some of the things. But
Okay.
yeah, a lot of work too.
Yeah. So there was you're in Miami, and like I said, DJ Davi, he usually DJs on the Purpose Pod. Maybe it's because two people from Miami, it would have been too hot. It would have been too hot for TV. So it just messed things up. But with the apartment or the condo collapsing, like were you affected by that? Did you go by
It was
there?
it was scary. I mean, fortunately, we weren't affected, but we live about 10 miles from there, and I
Wow.
also live in a condo on the water, so it kind of hit close to home, just in a sense that the building was somewhat similar, and there's some
Mm,
similarities there. But no, we were fortunate to be okay. But
yeah.
just thoughts and prayers out to everybody that was impacted. It's a
Yeah.
horrible tragedy, and I I know a couple people who knew people that lived
Mm.
there and were lost. So it's definitely something that was terrible that happened.
Yeah. Man, so I'm glad people on your side are safe, and I also prayers out for everyone who's affected. I had to bring that up because I was like, man, Miami, like that's something current. I know we talk about like all the civil rights issues, voting rights issues, and stuff like that, but that was really heavy to think that people found out that their loved ones just instantly were gone,
Yeah,
because of their home falling or collapsing. So that was
it's
tough.
awful. It's just something you
Yeah.
never crossed your mind before.
You
I
don't
mean,
think about that.
these are huge buildings that, you don't just see them fall like that out of nowhere. So it
Right.
definitely hit home.
Yeah. Do you, I know I said I was at the end. This is my last question. I told you it was like a Baptist pastor, right? Like this is closing time. We didn't collect the offering. But my really last question though, I have to ask you this. Do you feel like you're in your purpose, and how do you know? How do you know you're in your purpose?
Yeah, that's a great question. I do think I am. And I think it's because I genuinely love what I do.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that, the people that I work with, at least most of them, really value what I do and the impact I have. So I do feel
Yeah.
like I'm on my purpose. With that being said, there are other things I want to accomplish in my life. I'm pretty young, and I don't necessarily think I'll run a marketing agency my entire life. So there's other things I'd like to accomplish in the
Mm-hmm.
future. But right now, and for the very foreseeable future, this is really my baby and what I'm
Yeah.
focused on.
Awesome. Awesome. And we wish you all the best, you and your folks at Distinction Agency. We wish you all the best. And I really do appreciate you coming on the Purpose Pod. I definitely enjoyed this conversation with you. And in the future, as you guys grow or whatever you may need, you need people to have interviews. Definitely let me know, and we'll throw them on the podcast and get them out there, because you guys are doing great things. Definitely need to see what kind of resources I could use from you guys. Just go ahead and think about the never stop, never quit, repeat. We need this on like somebody who runs fast, somebody who could run through a brick wall and still eat breakfast the next day. We need somebody like that to wear this, because I
Absolutely.
need the brick. I just had the idea, so we could mix some Kellogg's Frosted Flakes with the never stop, never quit, run through a brick wall, eat some Kellogg's or some Wheaties, and then bam, Distinction Agency. Put that out there for your boy.
I
So
love it. I really appreciate you having me, Alan. Let's
all
definitely
right,
keep in
brother.
touch. And yeah, thanks for everything.
Definitely. Thank you. Thank you. You guys, Alex Onaindia, appreciate you, brother. Have a great day.
Take care.
All right. So this has been another episode of the Purpose Pod, purposely driving you forward with power and faith. My boy Alex dropped some knowledge, some wisdom. He's a real cool guy. You guys make sure you follow him on Instagram. I'm going to put that back up there right now. Make sure you follow Distinction Agency on Instagram as well. Visit their website, see what they have going on, see what tools they have that you can use for your business. You may not need the whole thing. Maybe there's parts of what they have to offer that you need. Please reach out to Alex on Instagram or Distinction Agency on Instagram. You also heard our spotlight artists, Mako Girls, Leverage and Ready. So definitely check them out as well. This is the Purpose Pod. Subscribe to the Purpose Pod. My name is Allen Levi Simmons, Marine Corps veteran. I'm out here doing big things, trying to highlight people who are walking and living in purpose. This has been episode 7 of the Purpose Pod, driving you forward with power and faith. I hope you'd enjoyed it. See you next week in 2 weeks. Yeah, let's do that with Salacia Kane, Marine Corps veteran. Let's go. Peace.